Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. This is Anthony. Today I want to talk about PSA grading and any other legitimate grading companies such as SGC, Beckett, CGC, XYZ. Put in your initials here, whatever company you personally support.
I'm from the city is still. I'm from the city is still.
For the purposes of the mainstream, most people submit with PSA. They're the largest, and it's by a landslide the number of cards that they are grading currently on a monthly basis. So we're going to use their grade scale for the purposes of this video. We're going to kind of look at the things that they look at whenever they get your card in-house. So the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to look at the centering of your card, and they're actually not going to be looking at it on a computer screen like this. I'm showing this to you for the visual effect. But the way that PSA is going to actually do this is they're going to use a loop, which is a small magnifying glass that has lights on it, and it also has like little hashes on there like you'll see for the measuring on this image here. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to go around with the loop, and they're going to look for any kind of surface imperfections. They're going to look at corners, edges. We're going to get into that, but the main thing they're going to do first and foremost is they're going to identify the centering of the card. And essentially what you're doing, and most cards have borders, which would be, just like that white border that goes around the majority of them. As you can see, this one is semi-borderless. You can kind of see like items like logo, for example, the number one up in the top right hand corner, the print at the bottom that says like the set information or whatnot. Those are some indicators that the grader is going to use to actually measure what the centering is on this card. So first thing they're going to look at is centering. Now you can actually get a clear plastic centering tool that looks just like this to lay over your cards at home. It's very easy. You can find them on eBay or Amazon, or if you want to be free about it, because if it's free, it's for me. Go into any Photoshop like program. You could basically download an image of the centering tool online, and then just change the opacity, overlay it over the card, change the opacity. You can now professionally grade centering from home for free. All you need to do is have a computer, phone, something to where you can do that. Or like I said, go online, order you one of the handheld ones that you can just lay over a card. So again, first and foremost, centering, you want to make sure you have a nicely centered card, because the way grading works is if one subgrade's just atrocious, it's going to be very difficult for you to make up for it on the other subgrades. So what I want to do now is get into showing you guys some of the other things that they look for with these cards. So first thing they're going to do is they're going to want to identify corners. Corners are very, very important when it comes to these cards and just cards in general. Another thing is edges. They're going to kind of look at corners and edges kind of simultaneously, because as you kind of rotate the look through for the next corner, you're going to kind of see a good bit of the edge. Now, what you're seeing here is kind of going to be the view that PSA is going to have through their loop that they're looking at this with. They're going to be in a semi-dark room, and they're going to have a LED light, and then they're also going to have different lighting on their loop as well. And they're going to use that different lighting for different things. Like as you can see here, I'm going to move this a little bit over the surface, and I'm going to look for any kind of indentations, scratches, or anything like that that could be found. And that's something that just makes it a little bit easier, is just having that bit of light to kind of shine through. Right off the bat, the light's kind of pulling out this scratch. I don't know if you guys are able to see that right here. It's a faint scratch running right across this. Actually, a couple of them. Again, the different lighting that they're going to have in their loop is going to be easier to identify that kind of stuff. As you can see, a little divot there in the surface as well. And again, these lights are what bring those things out, because as you see, I'm moving it around and it's bringing out any form of imperfection. So lighting is very important when it comes to grading, guys. So whenever you're looking over stuff, you want to make sure you have a nice LED light. And you want to make sure you have some kind of a nice surface you can lay the cards on so they're not going to get damaged when you look at them. Other thing you want to do is definitely make sure you're always looking at the back of the cards as well. Now, from personal experience, PSA doesn't pay as close attention to the back of the card, but if there is something egregious, they're definitely going to knock you for it. For example, you see that little bit of a faint print line right there? You can still get a 10 with that type of a defect on the back. They don't hit you too hard for that. But again, if they do find something more egregious than that on the back, you're definitely going to get hit for it. But those are some, known flaws. That's basically from a roller when they were printing the card that PSA will personally let slide if it's not too egregious looking. Sometimes it does get to be a little bit egregious. Like now, this is already the third one that we've found like that on the back. At some point, they will start to dock you a little bit for it. But again, it's not going to be anything like those little bits on the back that are going to knock this like any lower than a 9. Now, what may is you will see a lot of rough edge wear up here at the top. Again, this is the view that they're going to be seeing through their loop. Now, if they're looking at this with the naked eye, it's not going to look this bad. This magnification is very, very strong right here. But again, this is what they're doing, guys. They're looking through a loop at your card, basically at this magnification. They're using different bits of light so that way they can find any surface defects. But the lights are also used for like authenticating the cards. For example, certain card stock will actually see it light up differently whether or not it's a real or a fake card, based on the type of card stock that it is. So again, there will be ultraviolet light used on their loop as well, especially if it's a card that could be a known fake or any kind of questions about it. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of warping here towards this corner here, and that bit of edge there does have some wear to it. So again, these are some things that they're going to be docking you for. So you want to make sure that you're checking your edges really well under magnification before you send them in. You want to make sure you're checking your surface really well with some form of lighting. I always suggest like an LED or whatnot. Now, one other thing you can do is what I'm using here is actually a digital microscope. I will put a link to the exact one I'm using in the description if anyone's interested. Very affordable on Amazon, and if you're looking to get good grades when you send your cards in, it's a decent investment to get one of these and just really make sure that you're seeing what the grader is going to see, because like I said, they're going to be looking through a loop. It's going to look like this when they're actually looking at your card. Now, a lot of these like little divvy looking things, they're not going to dock you on because that is part of the design there, but again, there is a scratch right here that they definitely would be docking for that right there. Again, it's why it's important to have these lights, because these lights pull that defect right out for you. That's something that would have been a lot more difficult to see with the naked eye. So again, guys, when you're looking over your cards, once you got your centering down, you definitely want to look over your corners and edges. Those are the next easiest things to do, because corners, you want to make sure they're nice and 90 degrees and sharp. You want to make sure there's not whitening on them or anything like that, because you will get dinged for whitening. Same with your edges. You definitely want to make sure they're nice and smooth. There's no indentations. You want to make sure that, any like bubbling up or whitening is not present as well. Now, on some older cards, it's okay to have some wear and tear like that, but for ultra modern, you really want to make sure that you don't have very much of that, because if not, you're going to be getting bad grades back. Now, once you have the edges and the surface down, you definitely want to make sure you use light, and you definitely want to make sure you use magnification, because the surface is the easiest thing that they're going to smash you on. And again, you just want to go back and forth, and you want to make sure you're changing the light source over top of it, so that way you're catching any kind of defect. And if there's multiple light sources, like for example, this microscope does have multiple light sources built into it, so that way you can kind of see it in a few different. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I do grade a lot of cards. I've also worked with a few grading companies as well. So I'm just a huge nerd when it comes to this stuff. So again, any questions, comments, or whatnot, I'd be happy to answer and look through, as again, this is just something I enjoy doing, and that's more of a hobby than anything for me. Again, guys, appreciate you. Till the next video, may God bless you. I hope you take it easy.
the city,